public service or licensing exams, and you need total, rock-solid mastery of this topic specifically for the Nepali context, you are exactly where you need to be. We're going to take those incredibly dense academic curriculum models and motivation theories, and we're going to transform them into totally unforgettable visual mnemonics. We'll be using some of the most bizarre but honestly brilliant memory hooks you've ever heard. You aren't just going to learn these concepts today, you're going to lock them into your brain for good. Okay, let's just dive right into it.
Here is our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to kick things off with motivation in learning. Then we'll move straight through the classic linear models from Tyler and Taba. We'll explore what actually influences curriculum. And finally, we'll wrap the whole thing up with cyclical models.
All right, section 1, motivation in learning. Because let's be real, before we can even think about building an effective curriculum, we have to figure out how to actually motivate our students.
Okay, I want you to listen to this little narrative. Come Ruchi, I will make you compete with Pariaman. If you win, you get a reward, otherwise punishment. I mean, it sounds like a line straight out of a dramatic movie, right? But this playful sentence is actually a meticulously crafted mnemonic. It blends everyday language with your key terms to help you instantly recall the fundamental drivers of classroom motivation.
So, let's decode that story. First off, a student has to have a need and curiosity just to get started. Then our character Ruchi steps in, and that translates directly to interest. You're making her compete with Paraman, which cleverly stands for the knowledge of results or outcomes. Add in competition, and finally the reward and punishment that we just mentioned. So the really cool thing here is that by just remembering that one single dramatic sentence about Ruchi and Paraman, you have instantly memorized all 6 core elements of motivation that teachers use in the classroom. How great is that?
Moving right along to Section 2, Tyler's model, sewing clothes. Let's look at a very logical, straight-line theory of curriculum development.
Now, the name Tyler sounds exactly like Taylor, and honestly, this brilliantly illustrates his entire educational philosophy. Just think about what a tailor actually does. A tailor starts with a crystal-clear objective, say making a wedding suit. They select the right fabric, they organize and cut it super carefully, they sew it all together, and finally they evaluate the fit before they take your money. Tyler's curriculum process is literally the exact same thing.
So here are the exact academic steps, and they map perfectly to our tailor metaphor. Step 1, determine objectives. That's deciding what kind of suit to make. Step 2, select learning experiences, picking out the fabric. Step 3, organize learning experiences, cutting and sewing it all together in a structured way. And step 4, evaluation, checking that final fit. It's incredibly logical, it's strictly linear, and with that Taylor trick, it's just completely unforgettable.
All right, Section 3, Taba's model, diagnosing needs. Now, Taba is another linear thinker, for sure, but her starting point shifts the whole paradigm.
To remember Taba, we're going to use a bit of rhythm and humor. Don't add Baba, add Bibi to Taba. Come Bibi. Look, I know it's silly, but it rhymes and it is entirely designed to trigger your memory when you're sitting in a high-pressure exam room.
Now, while that rhyme gets Taba's name stuck in your head, her actual model is incredibly detailed. Unlike Tyler's 4 steps, Taba has 6 distinct steps. And this right here is where you really need to pay attention to step 1. It is not determine objectives. It is diagnosis of needs. Taba firmly believed you have to diagnose what the learners actually need before you can even begin to formulate your objectives. Only then do you select content, organize it, select the learning experiences, and finally, organize those experiences. So, it's way more granular. And listen, this specific contrast, this is your golden ticket for the exam. Tyler starts by determining objectives. The tailor already knows what he wants to make. But Taba, she starts with the diagnosis of needs. She asks the student what they need first. Lock this visual contrast right into your memory right now, because it comes up all the time.
Which brings us to Section 4, Factors Influencing Curriculum. So now that we have these theoretical models, what actually shapes them out there in the real world?
Imagine this grand, formal assembly where both society and students pay respects to social and science subject teachers. It paints a really nice picture of ultimate respect for education, but hidden right inside this sentence are the exact variables that dictate how a curriculum is built.
Let's break that assembly down.
Society gives us contemporary society and culture. Students gives us the student factor. Social points directly to social change. Science links to psychology and philosophy, the sciences of the mind and thought. And finally, subject teachers naturally gives us subject matter. By just visualizing that one assembly of students and society respecting teachers, you have magically memorized the 6 massive academic factors that influence curriculum design. I mean, that is efficient learning at its finest.
All right, on to our final stretch. Section 5, cyclical models, specifically Wheeler and Nichols. We are officially leaving the straight line behind. So I have to ask, what happens when the curriculum process isn't a straight line? Because Tyler and Taba were linear, right? They had a hard start and a hard finish. But education rarely works like that in reality. We actually need models that loop, that feed back into themselves, and continuously improve.
Okay, this might actually be my favorite mnemonic of the entire explainer. Put the 6 cycle in a wheelchair and spin it on a circular path until it heals. It is completely absurd, which is exactly why you're never going to forget it. Cycle obviously points to cyclical models, wheelchair is your brilliant trigger for Wheeler, and the circular path reminds you that this model loops endlessly.
So inside Wheeler's model, there's this inherent anxiety about what comes next. Think of the goal sitting in that wheelchair, totally stressed out, worrying, wait, should I select learning experiences first or should I select content? It struggles with separating the two. But then the evaluation stage comes to the rescue and basically says, stop worrying, just integrate them.
And that funny little story translates directly into Wheeler's rigorous 5-step cycle. Step 1, aims, goals, objectives. Step 2 and 3, that's the struggle, selecting learning experiences and then selecting content. But look at step 4. Just like the story promised, it's all about organizing and integrating those experiences and content together. And finally, step 5 is evaluation, which naturally loops right back around to redefine the goals in step 1. It's a perfect loop.
And we really can't talk about cyclical models without briefly touching on Nichols and Nichols. You can actually master this one by just thinking of a standard daily lesson plan. When a teacher writes their name, the class, the subject, and the time at the top of the whiteboard, what are they doing? They're establishing the context. In the Nichols model, this is formally called situational analysis, and it is the defining first step of their cycle. It completely grounds the theory in everyday classroom reality.
Wow, we have covered an immense amount of ground today, taking some pretty complex theories and locking them down with highly targeted, structured visual models. But I want to leave you with this one thought. Which of these models, the strict, linear steps of the Taylor or the continuous, healing spin of the wheelchair, do you think actually best fits our current education system? Think about how these theories live and